how much HCF consumed? How much HCF consumed? And then how many went into the sewage? So you've got a big lawn.
Yeah.
You can play soccer on your lawn?
Maybe. You probably have a couple turns.
On the lawn? Cool, cool. Who else can see those numbers? How much?
I have 15 total and 10 went to the sewer.
Okay, so you've used 15, 10 went to the sewer, so you've got a lawn of some sort, not too huge.
Something like that.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Yes.
Yeah, giant there on the field. Well, I very rarely pee in the average. As little as possible.
Well, you should like start in the toilet. Just see.
Yeah, you should. Okay. I mean, our house has such irrelevant water usage. Like,
I mean, extra cubic feet do you? 3. Yeah.
All right. Okay, now, I've got a feeling that most of you, if you're using more than 5 hectare-cubic feet, have either a lot of people in your house, and that might take you up to 6, 7, 8, 9. If you're over 10, I know you have a lawn. And if you're over 20, I'll bet you it's a significant lawn. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. It's not your fault. It's not your choice. You didn't pick your parents' house. But the main usage of water is outside irrigation. How many of you are under 5 hectare-cubic feet? HCF. Under 5 HCF. She is? You're under 5? How many does your house use? 4? And how many people live there? You and your mom? By the way, if she also has long hair?
Yeah.
I'll bet you if you guys both cut your hair, your water use would go down by like 10 or 20%. Because like the whole like shampooing, conditioning, like I don't know if you brush in the shower or not. Some people who brush their hair in the shower, like that uses up a lot of water time. Like shower length gets cut way back when you have one of these. So that may be your biggest water usage at your house.
Yeah. You say 5. All
right. Back to me, please. Back to me. How many of you 10 or less? 10 or less. Raise your hand. And keep your hand up if it's 10 or less. I'm going to ask some questions, but I want to see your hand. Minimal lawn? Pretty good. Good size lawn? You don't water in the winter, or you do water in the winter? That for 10 out of 2 people? Yeah, 3 people. That's pretty conservative for your lawn. What about you?
For the landscape yard.
So
all of our, we have 6 and all 6 go down the drain.
Right, okay.
2 people.
Yeah, makes sense. You got?
2 medium-sized lawns and 5 people.
Yeah, so that seems pretty reasonable. How many hectare-cubic feet total?
7.
7? Yeah, that's pretty low. That's a good number. And we're talking about you, right?
Yeah.
Who's over 10 hectare-cubic feet? I'm guessing these are all lawns. Who's over 20? Significant lawn? Significant lawn?
What do you define as significant?
Like bigger than this classroom?
Yeah, maybe. I think about the size of the classroom.
You may be watering way too much. You got a lot of fruit trees. Giant fountain outside.
I don't know where this water goes. Maybe the water comes.
Don't worry, we're going to find out. Your house? Oh. How many? 24? Well. Yeah. Around 20? Yeah. 67? That's going to be a good size long.
Yeah.
The only one, excuse me, students. If this is not interesting, I don't mind, but please don't interrupt. So if you have a pool, the main usage, consumption of water is to replace evaporation. It's also possible that you periodically drain a percentage and add a percentage, but it all depends on how you care for your pool. You have a big lawn? For your water usage, that would be, you've got a leak somewhere, I think.
Yeah. Wait, what's the average?
Average?
Yeah.
In my experience with students only, I have a biased demographic, so I don't know if it's kind of Barbara average, but the average in my class tends to be around or below 10 hectocubic feet.
Yeah, I'm kind of used to it. I have like more along this classroom at 2,000, so I'm still at 5.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you have a different watering system for your lawn. A lot of people have a well that just uses untested water just to irrigate outside. And some people have a separate water meter for their exterior irrigation, so you may get a different bill or someone else pays the landscape bill. Yeah.
I think that's a lot.
2 months. 7 years. That's all that was.
What's the most yours?
446. But that was over an extended period. I think the most I've ever seen for a single month was like a little over 100. No, like the funny thing is
The funny thing is,
anyway, long use a lot of water. Can you please stop talking?
Yes.
Thank you. Now we need to do some calculations. I'll need everyone to follow along, and you'll have to find some numbers on your bill. We'll have to calculate your water cost. Remember, we've already looked at that on your bill. And I want you to divide your water cost by your usage in hectare-cubic feet. The rate you have is for your water volume, but separately, you pay differing meter and service charges because of how much pumping is required to get the water to your neighborhood and the maintenance for your size of plumbing. So we have to add up these fees, divide by your HCF, and then, please look up, convert from HCF into gallons to get your cost per gallon. That should be a really small number. The most expensive water that we're finding in Santa Barbara today is about $0.01 per gallon. But that's very unusual. Yes?
So you're including the service charges? Like
Yes.
The total?
So I'll need everyone to calculate that number, and I'll give you a couple of seconds to do that.
So that includes your sewage and trash?
No.
Okay, just your water.
Water service divided by HCF converted to gallons.
So it's like,
Probably less than 10. Makes sense, yeah, that's exactly kind of our average. Whoa. Well, let's talk about it. Now, raise your hand if you still have not calculated that number. And please look up. If you multiply your current number times 1,000, then that is obviously the price for 1,000 gallons. You'll need to record both of those on your water use inventory. The price per gallon on one line and the price per 1,000 gallons on the other line. It's at the top of the water use inventory. This one and this one. Please keep in mind, Santa Barbara is in a really bad place to provide drinking water. Check this out. We are right there. We are in the chaparral, so we have very few days of rain. As a matter of fact, the Mediterranean climate in general is among the least rain days on Earth. We get way less rain days than Mojave, for example. On top of that, we're on the coast. We have no major rivers nearby. We're barely above sea level, so we have very limited access to groundwater. We're not close to any major cities, so we can't take the leftovers from their water supply. We are surrounded by mountains. So if you think about it, the only stuff that we could get from rain is any of those very rare storms that flood out to the ocean very quickly in these little tiny creeks, and that's all we got. All things considered, we are a city in a very, very, very uncomfortable location for giving us water. On top of that, everything in Santa Barbara is expensive. You know that your real estate here is a lot, so rental prices are a lot, so it costs a lot to pay for workers, and it costs a lot for the yard where they store their maintenance materials, and they can't have leftover capacity because extra rent is too expensive. Santa Barbara stuff is very expensive. On top of that, we're in a drought-prone area. On top of that, we insist on having a sustainable water system, which, as you know from yesterday's lecture, is very complex. So we have some of the most expensive water in the United States. The national average is $2 to $4 per 1,000 gallons. And that's the national average. It comes way cheaper in some places.
You know what the national high is?
The absolute highest, I do not.
You know, like what's one higher?
I know we're in the top few percent. So, how many of you are less than $4 per 1,000 gallons? Less than $4 per 1,000 gallons. So aside from her house and his house, you're all above the national average, because the national average is $2 to $4. Yeah, maybe. How many of you are between $4 and $8 per 1,000 gallons? So here we are, Santa Barbara, double the national average. And how many of you are over $8 per 1,000 gallons? Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to figure out which neighborhoods are paying more than $8 per 1,000 gallons. So, yes?
When you're calculating the average cost of water, do you do it by the total cost, including the service? Service and trash, or just the number you?
No, and I talked about that like 3 different times today. So no. Still no. I mean. So how many of you are over $8 per gallon? And neighborhoods?